Hey, fifth graders. I am excited to read a little bit more to you out of the book Wonder. I have included a link if you look in this file or this posting for the Read Aloud. There's a link in there for a PDF, and you can actually pull up the book Wonder and read along with me. I am reading the chapter today called Take Your Seats, Everyone, and it's on page 294. So you could pause this video, open up that document, and make your way to page 294, and then hit play again. All right, take your seats, everyone. Jack and I walked right behind a couple of sixth graders into the building and then followed them to the auditorium. Mrs. G was at the entrance, handing out the programs and telling kids where to go. Fifth graders down the aisle to the left, she said. Sixth graders go to the right. Everyone can come in. Come on in. Good morning. Go to your seat. Go to your staging areas. Fifth graders to the left, sixth graders to the right. The auditorium was huge inside. Big sparkly chandeliers, red velvet walls, rows and rows and rows of cushioned seats leading up to the giant stage. We walked down the wide aisle and followed the signs to the fifth grade staging area, which was in the big room to the left of the stage. Inside were 4 rows of folding chairs facing the front of the room, which is where Miss Rubin was standing, waving us in as we walked in the room. Okay, kids, take your seats, she was saying, pointing to the rows of chairs. Don't forget you're sitting alphabetically. Come on, everybody, take your seats. Not too many kids had arrived yet, though the ones who had weren't listening to her. Me and Jack were sword fighting with our rolled up programs. Hey, guys! It was Summer walking over to us. She was wearing a light pink dress and, I think, a little makeup. Wow, Summer, you look awesome, I told her, because she really did. Really? Thanks, you do too, Augie. Yeah, you look okay, Summer, said Jack, kind of matter-of-factly. And for the first time, I realized that Jack had a crush on her. This is so exciting, isn't it? Said Summer. Yeah, kind of, I answered, nodding. Oh, man, look at this program, said Jack, scratching his forehead. We're going to be here all day. I looked at the program. Okay, so in the book, and those of you following along can already see this, it's kind of written up like you would see like a program for, in this case, graduation. So they're going to have a speech opening remarks by Dr. Harold Jansen, the middle school director's address by Mr. Tushman. Next, the choir is going to sing a song called Light and Day. Fifth grade student commencement address by Eczema Chin. And then another song that's going to be sung, sixth grade student commencement address by Mark and Anonak. Another song, Under Pressure, by the choir. And then middle school dean's address by Miss Rubin. And then it says awards presentation and then a roll call of names where they'll announce all the fifth graders. Why do you think that? I asked. Because Mr. Jansen's speeches go on forever, said Jack. He's even worse than Tushman. My mom said she actually dozed off when he spoke last year, Summer added. What's the awards presentation? I asked. That's where they give medals to the biggest brainiacs, Jack answered, which would mean Charlotte and Eczema will win everything in the fifth grade, just like Charlotte won everything in the fourth grade and in the third grade. Not in the second grade, I laughed. They didn't give those awards out in the second grade, he answered. Maybe you'll win this year, I joked. Not unless they give awards for the most C's, he laughed. Everybody, take your seats, Miss Rubin started yelling louder. Now, like she was getting annoyed that nobody was listening. We have a lot to get through, so take your seats. Don't forget, we're sitting in alphabetical order. A through G in the first row, H through N in the second row, O through Q in the third row, R through Z in the last row. Let's go, people. We should go sit down, said Summer, walking toward the front section. You guys are definitely coming over to my house after this, right? I called after her. Definitely, she said, taking her seat next to Eczema Chin. When did summer get so hot? Jack muttered in my ear. Shut up, dude, I said, laughing as we headed toward the third row. Seriously, when did that happen? He whispered, taking the seat next to mine. Mr. Will, Miss Rubin shouted. Last time I checked, W came between R and Z, yes? Jack looked at her blankly. Dude, you're in the wrong row, I said. I am? And he made a face as he got up to leave, which was a mixture of looking completely confused and looking like he'd just played a joke on someone, totally cracking me up. And the next chapter is called A Simple Thing. About an hour later, we were all seated in the giant auditorium waiting for Mr. Tushman to give his middle school address. The auditorium was even bigger than I imagined it would be, bigger even than the one at Via's school. I looked around and there must have been 1 million people in the audience. Okay, maybe not 1 million, but definitely a lot. Thank you, Headmaster Jansen, for those very kind words of introduction, said Mr. Tushman, standing behind the podium on the stage as he talked into the microphone. Welcome, my fellow teachers and members of the faculty. Welcome, parents and grandparents, friends and honored guests, and most especially, welcome to my 5th and 6th grade students. Welcome to the Beecher Prep Middle School graduation ceremonies. Everyone applauded. Every year, continued Mr. Tushman, reading from his notes with his reading glasses way down on the tip of his nose, I am charged with writing 2 commencement addresses, one for the 5th and 6th grade graduation ceremony today, and one for the 7th and 8th grade ceremony that will take place tomorrow. And every year I say to myself, let me cut down on my work and write just one address that I can use for both situations. Seems like it shouldn't be such a hard thing to do, right? And yet each year, I still end up with 2 different speeches, no matter what my intentions. And I finally figured out why this year. It's not as you might assume, simply because tomorrow I'll be talking to an older crowd with a middle school experience that is largely behind them, whereas your middle school experience is largely in front of you. No, I think it has more to do with this particular age you are right now, this particular moment in your lives that even after 20 years of my being around students this age still moves me. Because you're at the cusp, kids. You're at the edge between childhood and everything that comes after. You're in transition. We are all gathered here together, Mr. Tushman continued, taking off his glasses and using them to point at all of us in the audience, all your families, friends, and teachers, to celebrate not only your achievements of this past year, Beecher middle schoolers, but your endless possibilities. When you reflect on this past year, I want you all to look back. I want you to all look at where you are now and where you've been. You've all gotten a little taller, a little stronger, and a little smarter, I hope. Here, some people in the audience chuckled. But the best way to measure how much you've grown isn't by inches or the number of laps you can now run around the track or even your grade point average, though those things are important to be sure. It's what you've done with your time, how you've chosen to spend your days, and whom you've touched this year. That, to me, is the greatest measure of success. There's a wonderful line in a book by J.M. Barrie, and no, it's not Peter Pan, and I'm not going to ask you to clap if you believe in fairies. Here, everyone laughed again. But in another book by J.M. Barrie called The Little White Bird, he writes, he started flipping through a small book on the podium until he found the page he was looking for. And then he put on his reading glasses. Okay, now in the book, there's a quote and another quotation mark. So Mr. Tushman is talking, but he is now reading directly from the book. So the first set of quotation marks tells me Mr. Tushman is talking. The second set tells me he is quoting from a source. Okay. He put on his reading glasses. Shall we make a new rule of life? Always to be a little kinder than is necessary. Here, Mr. Tushman looked up at the audience. Kinder than is necessary, he repeated. What a marvelous line, isn't it? Kinder than is necessary. Because it's not enough to be kind. One should be kinder than needed. Why I love that line, that concept, is that it reminds me that we carry with us as human beings not just the capacity to be kind, but the very choice of kindness. And what does that mean? How is that measured? You can't use the yardstick. It's like I was saying just before. It's not like measuring how much you've grown this year. It's not exactly quantifiable, is it? How do we know we've been kind? What is being kind anyway? He put on his reading glasses again and started flipping through another small book. There's another passage in a different book I'd like to share with you, he said, if you'll bear with me while I find it. Here we go. In Under the Eye of the Clock by Christopher Nolan, the main character is a young man who is facing some extraordinary challenges. I'm going to pause as a reader, and I'm going to see if I can think to maybe some other parts in this book, another character that also has some extraordinary challenges, make some connections with Augie here. There's one part in the book where someone helps him, a kid in his class. On the surface, it's a small gesture, but to this young man, whose name is Joseph, it's, well, if you'll permit me. He cleared his throat and read from the book. Again, double quotes. It was at moments such as these that Joseph recognized the face of God in human form. It glimmered in their kindness to him. It glowed in their keenness. It hinted in their caring. Indeed, it caressed in their gaze. He paused and took off his reading glasses again. It glimmered in their kindness to him, he repeated, smiling. Such a simple thing, kindness. Such a simple thing. A nice word of encouragement given when needed. An act of friendship. A passing smile. He closed the book, put it down, and leaned forward on the podium. Children, what I want to impart to you today is an understanding of the value of that simple thing called kindness. And that's all I want to leave you with today. I know I'm kind of known for my verbosity. Here, everybody laughed again. I guess he knew he was known for his long speeches. But I want you, my students, to take away from your middle school experience, he continued, what I want you to take away from your middle school experience is the sure knowledge that in the future you make for yourselves, anything is possible. If every person in this room made it a rule that wherever you are, whenever you can, you will try to act a little kinder than is necessary, the world really would be a better place. And if you do this, if you act just a little kinder than is necessary, someone else, somewhere, someday, may recognize in you, in every single one of you, the face of God. He paused and shrugged, or whatever politically correct spiritual representation of universal godness you happen to believe in, he added quickly, smiling, which got a lot of laughs and loads of applause, especially from the back of the auditorium where the parents were sitting. And that is the end of that chapter. I'm going to stop here for today, and we will finish the book Wonder tomorrow. Bye, guys. Have a great rest of your day.